I started off with the SDR dongle, which is software defined radio, because I wanted to listen to my local FM stations because I couldn't find any radios anywhere that had any decent speakers on 'em. So I started out with the SDR dongle and I tune in my FM stations and I listen to them on my computer. The next thing I found was that I could monitor the local police and fire department bands if they were still using analog radios. And most of the city of Dallas is using analog, so I can listen to those. So now I'm on to the next thing. The next thing I found was that you could monitor airplane flights with the SDR dongle also. And basically, here's where we want to get to. We want to get the software installed that will read our SDR device and it will plot airplanes and any information that they're broadcasting. So most of the airplanes will have some type of call sign that you can use and you can look up that flight and see where it's going, what it's doing, that kind of thing. Like this one is SWA713. It's broadcasting this route: Oakland, Las Vegas, Chicago, and Charlotte. But it's at 7,600 feet, so that makes me think it took off from Love Field here in Dallas. So there's a site called flightaware.com where you can take any call sign and plug it in. Of course, you got to copy it first. That call sign was SWA713. I'll copy that. I'll paste it in. And that will pull up information about that flight. All right, it says invalid on that one, and I thought I did a cut and paste. Oh, I copied the wrong thing. This is the call sign, so I need to copy that. Copy that. Paste it. And this will give me more information on it. So it's departing from Dallas. It left Love Field, and it's on its way to Little Rock, Arkansas. And if you want to stay on this page, it will monitor the flight from start to finish. So and you have the option, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. This is Dallas Love Field. That's the smaller airport. Over here, we have Dallas Fort Worth International Airport, which is much larger. You'll see smaller airports all around. So let me show you how we go about setting this up. I'm going to have to close that. And I'm going to have to close something else. No, that was all I had to close. So that's closed. I need to close the virtual radar. And then I need to close the 1090, which is here. Control C. All right. Now this is the little SDR that I ordered. It's USB on one end and the other end connects to an antenna. This SDR was about $35 at the time I bought it. It's now $39. I bought the little generic rattlesnake antenna. It comes with 3 antennas, the old kind that you stretch out, and these are some type of more advanced. I'm using this one in the middle right here to actually pull in these signals. And from what I can understand, most of the airplanes send out something called Mode S on the 1090 megahertz. And I'm going to include a link here if you want to go and read about it. Just understand that the little SDR dongle is listening for signals on the 1090 megahertz, and then it's feeding it to another program to let you read it. Now, GitHub has a link where you can download a program called Dump 1090. That is the program that actually talks to your SDR and decodes those signals that are coming in on 1090 megahertz. If you are running Linux, Dump 1090 is a part of a package that you can install. If you're on Debian or Ubuntu, it's apt install dump 1090, and that's all together, dump 1090. I checked a few days ago and I didn't see an Ubuntu version. I did see a version that runs under Red Hat and Fedora, and this system is Fedora. So I did an install of the Fedora version. Well, let me pull that up here. So if you do a man on dump 1090, it gives you all the options that you can use. The ones that we are looking for are this dash interactive. That's going to give you some output on the screen. The dash net is going to enable networking. That's going to have it do two things. It's going to sit there and it's going to listen for connections coming from other software, like the virtual radar that we're going to put in next. And it also opens its own little web browser. So if I just run dump 1090 with those two options, it starts talking to the SDR card, and it gives you a printout of any flights that it sees in the area. It also opens up a web server that you can connect to, and that web server by default runs on port 8080. So if in my browser I'm going to connect to my local host, which is 127.0.0.1 on port 8080. And it's going to bring up a map that's coming from that dump 1090 command. Now, by default, when the map first opens, it puts you somewhere in Italy somewhere. So you have to zoom out using the minus, zoom all the way out, and move over to your area. And you see this little blue area here? That tells me that that's where the dump 90 is seeing airplanes. But if you'll notice, this is the interface from dump 1090. And you can just barely see the airplanes in the air. Let me see if I can find one. Like here's one right here, and you can just barely see it. And you just get basic information from it. It tells you how high it is, how fast it's going, and it gives you the GPS coordinates for it. But it's very hard to read here. So what we want to do is we want to take another application called VirtualRadar Server, and we want to use that as the front end for it instead of the dump 90 web interface. So what we have to do is stop dump 1090. And if you do a man on the dump 1090, there's another option that'll let you change the HTTP port. We're changing this port because the virtual radar server that we want to install also uses the same port. It uses port 8080. So we're going to tell dump 1090 to use port 8081. And it goes, and then you get your same information there. Now you have to leave that screen running. And then you go to the VirtualRadar server site and you download the VirtualRadar server. Now I'm doing this under Linux. They have a version that works under Windows, but under Windows, they don't have the dump 1090 application. They have another application you can run. If you'll read the documentation, you can find out what it is. But since I'm running Linux, I'm going to click on the Linux link and read the documentation. And it tells me that it needs a program called Mono. Mono is a program that will let you run .NET applications under Linux. And this application is a .NET application. So under Debian Ubuntu, it's apt install mono-complete. Red Hat, Fedora, Alma Linux, it's DNF install mono-complete. And that just installs the runtime that lets you run the lets you run the VirtualRadar application. And there are some other issues here, specifically for Mono. You have to put in this config file. The name of the file is virtualradar.exe.config. And all you have to do is copy this text and put it into that file. And that file is going to go into the same location that you download the radar server to. So when you go to the download link here, you want to hit the Mono Linux, download the tarball, and this is just for the main program. Down below there's like some language packs and some plugins, but we're not looking at those. We're just looking at the main program. So when you download that main program, you're going to unzip it, untar it into a directory. I put it in a directory called apt virtualradar. And all of these files get downloaded from that tar file. And I had to create this file called virtualradar.exe.config. And when I do a less on that file, it's exactly what's in the documentation on the other screen. I just did a cut and paste. When I go back over here, under Linux, I've downloaded it. I've created that config file. It says to start the program, you run mono and then virtualradar.exe. Even though it's a .exe extension, which normally is under Windows, this is a .NET application, so the mono command understands how to run that exe. So we need to run that. Now you have to leave that window running in the background over there. And you also have the dump 1090 running in the background. Now you notice when you run the VirtualRadar server, under here where it says feed status, it says receiver connected. And what it's doing is it's connecting to the dump 1090 and it's pulling information from there. And then it gives you the link that you can use right here. So you can either type that link in or you can just click it right here. And that'll pop you into that screen that we were on before. Now remember, sometimes it'll pop you up in Italy somewhere, so you have to hit that minus button to zoom in and out. And again, that'll let you see all the different types of flights. And you will see that some of the icons for the flights, you'll have big planes and you'll have small planes. You'll also have like helicopters and things like that. Like here's one that's a FedEx, but it does not have a call sign. It's at 8,000 feet. I'm going to assume that it's flying over here to Fort Worth Alliance Airport, because that's where a lot of this UPS and FedEx stuff goes. And I've kind of noticed that for my particular situation, I'm in Lancaster. I'm right in this area. DFW is right here, and Love Field is right here. Those are the major airports. I noticed that if a plane is like under 5,000 feet, like right in here, I can't see it any longer anywhere in this area. But if it's 5,000 feet and it's over in this area, I can still see it on my radar here. So if you see something going and then it disappears, that just means that it's not talking to the transponders. It's not sending on that 1090 because it's too low for some reason. And I've kind of figured out the flight path is something that's coming in from the north and it's going to DFW. It will either take a path going right down here. So instead of just flying straight into DFW, it will take a path down here, make a U-turn, and then come back up and make a landing here. And then sometimes if they're coming from this direction and they're going to DFW, instead of going straight to it, they will come and they will hit this loop, like right where this UPS plane is. They will take this loop and they will then U-turn and come in for a landing here. Like this little icon here, that's a helicopter that's flying around. Yeah, that's a Bell 429 Ranger, it says. And it does not have a call sign, so I don't know what it is. But this UPS flight, you can also see it shows you the elevation here. It's decreasing in elevation. So it's going to decrease down to about 4,000 and it's going to U-turn and it's going to come back up and make a landing over here. Now, there aren't a lot of planes in right now because it's late at night, and I wanted to do it late at night because I didn't want all the stuff on the screen confusing you. But when you do this in the middle of the day, you'll see just plane after plane after plane coming in, and they'll all be following that same path. They'll come down here, loop around, and go around here. And then for Love Field, which is right here, like downtown Dallas is here, their buildings up high. You will see planes coming from the north, circling around here, and then coming back and flying in to Love Field. And then sometimes you will see, you'll have planes coming in and out of DFW, and then you'll have planes leaving Love Field. They will U-turn here, and they're all at different elevations, so they can't run into each other. But the planes will go directly over DFW and come out this way. So it's kind of interesting. Use up a lot of time just looking at it and using the other site. If you have a call sign, you can actually track that flight. Like this is that one we looked at earlier. It's halfway to where it was going. Where was that going? That was going to Little Rock, Arkansas. It's halfway there already. So that was a simple example of how to install VirtualRadar and the Dump 1090 to monitor commercial flights. That will monitor flights that are in your area. If you like this video, go ahead and click the like button, subscribe, and thanks for watching.